Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Stoked to have you here today as I am going to be chatting about a overall question that I received from some of the athletes that I am training one-on-one right now for the DEKA World Championships. So I think that this is going to be applicable regardless of whether or not you were shooting for big goals at World Championships, whether or not you're racing in the elite waves at all or not. I think this is just going to be just great for anyone that really wants to go from where they are now to something that they truly desire. So excited to jump into that. But first, let's talk about the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week. And it's going to every single athlete that competed this last weekend at the Pursuit Games here in Windsor, Colorado. Now, I know that that is like a super small group of us, and I'm not even totally sure that everyone that listens to this podcast, how many of those people came from the games yesterday. But here is what I loved, you guys, is that you have people that come from a primary powerlifting strength background, and they stepped into the hybrid racing world for the first time. This was a 3-stage competition where there was a strength-only event, an endurance-only event, and then one that was a mashup between the two where it brought heavy weights and some pretty kick-ass endurance. And so to watch people go from all I do is lift really heavy things and I haven't done cardio in a year, try to those other events and just hang on for dear life and be elevated by the people on the sidelines cheering, by the people that were pushing them in their wave. It was just the coolest thing. And what I loved the most about it all was not the results that we got yesterday. Dave and I did really well. It was the fact that there were so many people that were just having conversations after the event being like, wow, you were really good at this and you're really good at this. And wow, I really would love to do this one day. You've truly inspired me. Everyone had their own strengths and areas of opportunity. And when you race in a hybrid competition like that, you get to see all of that come to life. You get to see what other opportunities there are for you in life, not just to do the same old thing that you've been doing, but to really push the limits and to try something new. And so it was just a huge opportunity, a huge shout out. I'm just so proud to everyone that went for it yesterday. And I'm hoping that everyone is feeling okay. I am laughing because I feel like I've been ran over by several semi trucks. My body is just completely trashed right now. But it's all fine. It's great. Again, I'm just still on cloud 9 of the fact that people tried hybrid racing for the first time yesterday and they were like, maybe with a little bit of focus and some trust in myself, if I just gave myself the opportunity to try, maybe I could do this again and do this better. That to me is the coolest thing when you give yourself the chance to just open yourself to other things. So that's Becoming Your Strong moment of the week. Great job, you guys. Now on to the topic of this week. So I'll be honest, I was I'm not sure what I want to talk about this week. And I reached out to a couple of the gals that I am training one-on-one right now. And a lot of them just got their emails for DEKA World Championships. And they are we're so inspired by your journey, not just from the weight loss perspective, but from you literally went from having no background in any of this stuff to becoming one of the best athletes in the entire world in the sport. How do you go from average, middle of the road to where you are now? What were the key things that you did in order to do that? And it's a pretty loaded question, right? Because everyone that has maybe taken a similar journey to me or has gone from average to elite We've all got there in our own ways. We've had to fight our own battles. We all have our own circumstances that will maybe force us to overcome certain things, whether we want to or not. But for me, I mean, I think just first to answer that question is I had to truly believe that I was capable. Like, there had to have been certainty within me somewhere, knowing that I didn't know when it would happen. Like, of course, I'd love for it to happen sooner than later. But there had to have been something deep down inside my gut and within my heart that I was like, I can do this. I know that if I give myself the time to do this, I can be there one day, that I will one day be racing alongside those girls. I felt it so deeply to my core. And that's a tough thing to get when you're starting off, when you're just completely flooded with doubt of whether or not you belong and whether or not you will ever see any progress. Like, that is a really tough thing to do. But somewhere in the middle of all of that stuff, I felt it to my core. And I would say for anyone that's truly looking to go from average to elite, you have to find not that like just fake thing of like, oh, I believe it, one day this will happen. Like, you know what I mean? When you really think that you could do something, you're just maybe fearful or doubtful of how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Take those two things aside, right? Find that core belief in yourself that you can see yourself being elite one day, that you could do something incredible and amazing. And that is the basis. Like, that is the number one requirement. Otherwise, everything else that I say outside of this really doesn't matter. It truly doesn't. Like, that belief has to be there first. And so find that within yourself. Now, these are no particular order. I would say I'll try and share them in a way that makes sense. But I mean, I think about what I did when I decided that I really wanted to race elite and I didn't want to spend another year being average, is I had to like stop being stubborn. I had to stop thinking that I could do shit by myself, and I had to go get help. I had to be around other people that knew more than me, that thought differently than me, that just did things differently, because I needed a perspective shift. I needed challenge. I needed to be uncomfortable. And I think about in that moment what made me uncomfortable, and that was to be working with the best. I never thought that I was worth much. I never thought that I was enough to be coached by one of the best humans in the entire world at the sport. But I knew that if I wanted to ever reach elite, that I had to get uncomfortable and do something that scared me, which was asking for help. And I did that. And so I reached out to Kevin after the 2023 World Championships and was like, look, I don't know if you coach remotely. I don't know if you're able to help me at all. I don't know if I'm even worth it for you, the caliber that you need, but I know that I really want to freaking do this, and I would love your help if you'd be willing. And that was really big for me. And that was the catalyst to me going from average to elite. Is now I was starting at the bottom of the totem pole. I was around people that had been doing this for longer than me. And I was trying to just figure things out. And I know that's a really uncomfortable thing for some people, but there is also, like, guys, if you look at it from this perspective, it is so cool to just be surrounded by talent, to know that you are a part of something greater than yourself, and to just be surrounded by that kind of talent and passion and freaking whip for what they want to accomplish. Like, the energy, the goals, the excitement, the support, it was like, holy cow. How could you not go out there and want to run through a freaking wall when you have these people behind you? So honestly, you guys, that was the start of it for me, was just getting outside of myself, not making financials. Did I have the time? Was I enough and deserving of certain things? Like, putting that BS aside and just being like, I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. That stuff doesn't matter. This is what matters to me most right now. And I will figure out all the rest of the stuff as it comes. And I did. I figured out a way to pay for it. I figured out a way to make time for it all. I figured it all out. All of those excuses that were holding me back got eliminated. And I was able to see one of the most massive 2024 like years. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and be cocky by any means, but like, if there were Rookie of the Year awards, I'm pretty sure I would have been in the field of people that would have been considered for that, because that's just what happens when you go out there and you chase big things like that and you recruit the help. Like, you can see some really big results, and I had an amazing 2024. So that is probably the first thing of going from average to elite, is that difference right there. And I've always kept that close to home. Even now, right? Like, yes, I'm a coach for Underdog Fitness. I'm a coach for Pursuit, two of arguably the best gyms for what they specialize in the entire world, right? So yes, I'm a coach now, and I train myself and I do all the things, but I don't like just let that thing go to the side. Like, when I was like, okay, I need to chop off 15 to 30 seconds to be in the elite wave, to be competitive again this year for elite. How am I going to do that? I didn't sit there and just keep it to myself and try and figure it out myself. Yes, I put together a plan, but then I took that plan and I was like, shoot holes in it, poke holes in it, right? Like, help me figure out what I'm missing here. And I went to the team at Pursuit. I went to the sports performance team. I was like, look, this is what I want. Here's where I'm at. Here's the stats, blah, 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 blah. Like, I gave them the whole 9 yards, and they helped me. And what was really cool about that, and this is what I will say about recruiting help, this is probably the biggest game changer. It's not that you all of a sudden get all the answers to the test that make the difference, because you have to do something with those answers to the test. You can't just get them and then expect to be good. You have to do something with them. And the difference is when I got the answers to the test, I also got the belief. Some of that belief that I was missing of how and when, of when I was going to do all of this, accomplish this, it came. Because I had people behind me pouring that belief into me. Like, if you do this, which we know that you can, this will happen for you. And that, the building of belief, having that belief poured into me, like, again, that was a huge catalyst for me. And both times, right? When Kevin was like, I believe that you could be something really big, to my team being like, this is solid, like, you can do this. And every week, you guys, I always had one of the people from the team like, what happened this week? Tell me the good things, tell me the bad things, how can I help you? Like, it gives me goosebumps that, like, because I got out of my own way 2 years ago and just said, help me. I'm going to put aside all of my BS excuses, just help me. That now I'm surrounded by the most amazing people that just want to see me win. That is waiting for you on the other side. And tell me that's not like what you really want, what you really crave. So that, I would say, is the first thing that was the really big catalyst. The next thing from there is, I feel like I had to learn how to lose. And I put this in parentheses, a lot. I had to learn how to lose. What I mean by that is, we are so afraid to fail that we rob ourselves of the opportunity to try, and of the opportunity to really learn how to trust ourselves. And this also takes away the opportunity to just learn, to learn lessons when you don't do things correctly. Like, I remember that one of my kind of cues that helped me feel better about competing when I got really nervous, or even like doing like simulations of certain races, or even trainings, like just certain trainings, I was like, I'm really freaked out. I remember telling myself, like, there's nothing to lose here besides a lesson. I am in this to gain data. And the data is not good nor bad. It's just helpful. So when I do this, I'm going to gain the data. I'm going to look at the data, and I'm going to utilize it how I can. And that's going to set me up for the next thing that I tackle, right? This worked. This didn't work. I don't know about this. I'm going to try this. Let's see if we can get the answers. Every time that you race, every time that you train, every time that you attempt something, there is never a win or lose. It is never that like cut and clear. There is I got the result that I wanted, or I didn't get the result that I wanted, but I learned a hell of a lot for next time. So if we started to approach things like that and gave ourselves the opportunity to actually try, how many more times would you fail? Like, this was actually one of my favorite quotes, I think, of this year so far, is if you knew that you were 25 failures away from the result that you wanted, how quickly would you work to fail? It's the same idea here. Learn how to get really good at losing. Learn how to get really good at failing. When you no longer fear failure or fear that outcome of like, gosh, I just didn't execute how I wanted to execute. When you no longer fear that and you just go for it and you're like, well, I'm going to get something good out of this. Guys, it opens up the floodgates for you. It also, I feel like, takes so much unnecessary pressure off of your chest, right? There's the good pressure and then there's the bad pressure. The good pressure is like, I'm doing uncomfortable shit and this is really going to push me. That is a privilege. The bad pressure is the stuff that is the what ifs, the stories that we tell ourselves that really don't serve us at all. That is the bad pressure that we want to get away from. So all of that to say, it was the accumulation of the learning lessons from the times that maybe I didn't execute the way that I wanted to, and learning to trust myself that I would make it through no matter what. Would it be in the way that I wanted to? I don't know. That was a 50-50 shot. But that I would make it to the other side of that workout, of that race regardless. Like, those were things that really allowed for me to level up. So learn how to lose a lot and get comfortable with it and being okay with it, changing your perspective around it. And that's going to open up the floodgates for you. The next thing was actually having a game plan. I used to go into races just hoping for the best outcome and that my training that I had been, working really hard in would pay off. And while that's nice, it never really got me anywhere. That hope never really got me anywhere. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have hope, but what I'm saying is when I went from just hoping to actually going in with a game plan of what I needed to execute, holy cow, did I start to see some differences. And that was a byproduct of what training with Kevin gave me. It went from, again, just this, let's just hope that all this training worked, to I know exactly what pace I'm going to row, the pace that I'm going to ski, the pace that I'm going to bike, how certain things should feel. Like, when I started to dial in those things, what is there to worry about? There's still the natural nerves that are going to happen when you race. That's just showing you that you're doing something that's important to you, that you're doing something that's about to push you. Those are good things, right? We want to keep those around because those are what keeps us sharp and keeps us ready to attack. But the constant doubts of I don't know what to do here, or I'm second guessing this and that, that's the stuff that you're going to go back and forth on, that's going to take away from you just being able to find your flow state. When I had a game plan, I was prepared. And when I was prepared, I was able to go into flow state naturally. And my favorite moments of racing, you guys, have nothing to do with the actual outcome. It's those moments of I was present. I was in flow. I was enjoying what I was doing. I was all in on myself and what I was doing in that moment. I get goosebumps thinking about that because I chase that every time I race. When I get to go there, it is a gift. It is a privilege. And the way that I got to those gifts was by having a game plan, right? So I really do think that if you want to see different results, you have to stop going in with this hope and you have to start going in with more tangibles. Now, here's where the caveat comes in, because you could have a great game plan, which I have had in the past and it's worked out well. You could also have a great game plan and none of it works out. I remember at World Championships last year, I was sick to my stomach on the strong day. And I think obviously part of it was nerves, but the other parts of it were my CNS was completely shocked. I didn't get any sleep the night before. I probably wasn't hydrating and fueling as much as I needed to. There were probably plenty of things that played into this, but I felt like butthole. It was not good. I ended up making it through the strong ruck race, became the world champion, that got to the elite race. I've always, I've had a plan into what it is that I wanted to do from paces and how I wanted to feel. The moment that I got onto the skier, oh my God, I was so tired. I felt the accumulation of races like in that moment. And I was like, I could just stop right now and go take a nap and I'd be pretty happy. But I'm not. I'm in the middle of this race that I have been dreaming of racing for over a year now. Like, I'm not going to give up on myself that quickly. And in that moment, I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision on, was I just going to peter out and cross the finish line because I knew that I could finish. I could just pull back and just finish. Or was I going to adapt in that moment, adapt the game plan, and give myself the opportunity to still do what I wanted to do? And I chose that option. I decided to pull back on my ski pace significantly, not because I was quitting, but because I knew if I pulled back there and if I pulled back the farmers a little bit, well, guess what came next? One of my strongest stations, and actually arguably 4 of my strongest stations after that. I'm one of the best racers in the world on the back half of that course. It happens every single time where I've picked people off on the back half of the course. So I said, okay, I'm going to slow down here and I'm going to stay calm. The goal is just to recover. And so I closed my eyes. I didn't think about the pace. I just recovered and I recovered and I picked up those weights and I recovered and I recovered. And I got to that bike. I did what I knew how to do. And guys, it was like this switch flipped. It is one of my favorite racing moments of all time, where I got off that bike and normally you feel like hell and you're like, oh my God, I do not want to pick this ball up. And I was like, dude, I feel re-energized. Let's freaking go. And I attacked. And I went from last place in the Elite 15 race to being the 6th place in the entire world for the elite field. That is what happens when you adapt and you adjust, right? So that's kind of my caveat to this, is like, you could have a great game plan and it might not work out. So the secondary to that is have a game plan, but know how to adjust, because I truly do believe that the best athletes in the world at any sport are the ones that are most adaptable under pressure. So you're probably thinking like, how do I apply this? Well, it comes down to reps in your training, reps when you compete. You go in with a game plan in your training, and when you compete, and you stick to that until you realize, okay, this isn't working. I got to go somewhere else. It's not going to happen like that at first. You're going to freak out a little bit. You're going to be like, oh my God, I blew up. I went too fast. All of those things are going to come. But it's as simple as taking a big, deep breath, finding that mental cue in the moment, and being able to have a really productive conversation with yourself, right? So that's going to be up to you. I can't give you the answer to the test there, because you are the only person inside your own head. You are the only person that truly knows what's going to get you to move, what's going to get you to go and not give up and quit. You got to put yourself in those situations, though. That's my biggest piece of advice, is get those reps in training, in sims, and other races that you're going to do leading up to world championships, and practice getting yourself out of that mental hole into the place that, okay, I'm fine. I'm uncomfortable. Everything's okay. I just need to adjust. And this is how I'm going to adjust, right? The next thing I would say that helped me go from average to elite was just being laser focused on the priorities. This is not just physical training within DECA, but in what was most important in my life overall. Because at the end of the day, I'm not just an athlete. I'm also a human. And happy Kayla is going to be a really successful DECA athlete. I know that. So to kind of paint a picture here, my priorities when I was in the 2024 season are different than what my priorities are in the 2025 season. I did 2024 really well, but there was also things that I didn't love about 2024. The fact that I was a basket case leading up into the World Championships, and I had a lot of doubts and disbelief in myself, and my relationships, even though I didn't know it at the time, were being impacted, and it was kind of consuming my life. And when I went into this year, I decided I wanted something a little bit different. And I also learned a hell of a lot from last year's experience, to where I was like, when it comes down to it, this is what is really most important to me. And these are the things that I really do believe if I keep these things on lock, I'm going to be a happy, healthy Kayla showing up to that start line, and I'm going to let it rip. I had this conversation with Dave yesterday because now we're starting to really enter the thick of the World Championships prep. People are getting their emails. We're solidified. We're in the training block. Ready, set, go. After competing yesterday in the Pursuit Games, I was like, I'm so fit. Like, yes, I could always be fitter. And I'm going to get even more fit in the next 10 to 12 weeks of preparing for this. By much, I don't know, right? Like when you're at that level of being some of the best in the world, you're starting to chase seconds. You're no longer chopping off minutes. You're starting to chase seconds. So am I going to get a lot more fit? Probably not. But I could get unhealthier. I could get hurt. I could get more doubts and negative perspectives. There are a lot of things that could happen between now and then. And so if I know that to be true, well, then I should focus on the things that are most important that I think are going to actually help me show up the best me on the starting line. And so for me right now, it's keeping my mindset happy, not just 100% focusing on like how I'm doing in my training, but just, am I happy in life? Am I happy in my career? Like, how is my mindset 360? My recovery, am I getting good sleep? Am I giving myself the chance to rest when my body just isn't feeling good? Am I actually taking care of it? Am I doing mobility? Am I taking time for dedicated recovery, both before my sessions and after my sessions? Like, am I doing that? Am I nourishing my body with the nutrients that it's needing? Not just piling it up with sugar and making sure that I'm fueled for my workout efforts, but am I feeding it with the stuff that it needs just to stay healthy and feeling good and regular, right? Those are the three things that I'm all in on right now, that I am mostly focusing on. Now, of course, in my training, there's the stations and the certain things that I'm like, I really want to make these the 1 degree shift that so when I race, like you can tell that I've really worked on that thing. Of course, I'm keeping that front of mind. But for me, my priorities are those other three things. And I truly believe if I keep them there, I'm going to show up really, really well. So I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to get at here, if you're really going from being an average racer to being an elite racer, it's trying to not tackle everything at once. There's a million things that we can get better at in this moment, but we can't. We just don't have the time in the day. We don't have the energy. We don't have the effort. We just can't. We're going to run ourselves ragged trying to do that. So what are the 1 to 3 things at most that you think this is where my time is going to be best spent? And that's going to look different for everyone. And that's great. That's okay. It shouldn't look the same for everyone. The last thing that I will say, and I think that this is a perfect way to end this and a perfect way to kind of segue from being laser focused on the priorities, is also just being focused on enjoyment over the results. When people are having fun, they do better. It has been shown and almost proven time and time again. I don't know why I just thought about this, but I thought about Linda Meyer in the World Championships for Hyrox this past season. And she had the biggest smile. You could tell that she was in flow. She was racing within her means. She was racing for herself. Like watching her, I like reached over to Dave. I was like, she's going to win it. Like you can tell in her energy that she's going to win it. And lo and behold, she did. And she shocked herself. It wasn't because she was going for result. Of course she would love to be the world champion. Every single one of those girls enter in that race because they think deep down inside that they could be the champion. But when the finish or when the start line, when the gun goes off, whatever, but when they start the race, that no longer becomes the focus. At least I think the people that actually do really well, that's no longer the focus. They're just focusing on actually enjoying all of the time that they spent preparing for this moment. They're just enjoying the fact that they're finally here. The amount of blood, sweat, tears, hours of focus in training and mindset and recovery, all of those things, right? There's nothing else more that they can do in that moment besides just live and be there for themselves. And that's honestly, you guys, why last year I set the mantra of chase moments of joy. When I go to the World Championships this year, my joy is going to be watching 17 women that I'm training right now, getting to watch them race and getting to watch them overcome, and then getting to go after titles again myself, right? Of just like getting to go fast and feeling that flow state. Just being in that environment, we don't get to do that. We get to do that once every single year. So why would I spend my time focused on a result that's going to maybe bring me a week of happiness at most, when I can sit there and create those memories and those moments of joy within those races, like just taking the moment to just take it all in and to smile. Like, honestly, you guys, I'm thinking about one particular race right now. I'm thinking about the race with my partner, Olivia. We're the current world record holders in the female strong. We are number one by, I'd say, 15 seconds or so at least. And the thing that I want most is to be at the start line and to be able to give her the biggest hug in the entire world. And I totally can see myself tearing up in this moment. But just knowing that I love that woman more than anything in the world, and that I get to share this space with her and to like push each other, because that's just what we do. Push each other to just that limit where we don't know that we could go on, but like, because you have that person next to you that you love and adore so much, like you're going to find another gear to do it. That's all I want. That's really the biggest moment that I'm looking for right now, that I'm looking towards to right now. There's a plethora of other ones, but that's the one that really like hits the top for me. And whether we cross that finish line in first or in last, like, just the pure joy of getting to share that with someone that you just truly love. It's the thing that I want the most. And so that's what I'm going to leave you with for sure, is when it is all said and done, what are the moments that you want to say, I got to experience that? And I encourage them not to be about standing on a podium, hitting a PR, achieving a certain result. I encourage you to think about those moments that, like, especially if you're like doing team races, like, I want to look to the person next to me that I've worked so hard with this season and just be able to like smile and say, we're freaking doing this. We're racing this right now. Like, who would have thought? Like, just have that moment, whatever that looks like for you. What are the experiences that you want to walk away from that you're going to be able to share forever and ever, because they burned a hole in your heart? If you can find some answers to that question, you're not only going to go from average to elite, but you're going to go from racing to fully living. Thank you guys so much for spending time listening to me get passionate and share all the things about how I've gone from average to elite. I truly hope that this helps, not just for if you're building for world championships right now, but in the future. Like, keep this episode saved for times that you need to hear this along your journey, and share this with people that really need to hear this message as well. But until then, you guys, feel free to send me in any topics that you were like, I have this question, or I have this thing that I'm struggling to overcome. Very happy to do more episodes like that, especially as we take this journey together into the next 10 to 12 weeks. And I'll chat with you guys next week on another episode of Becoming Your Strong. See you then.